There are people who move through the world with an easy smile. They laugh at their own mistakes. They shrug off things that seem stressful to everyone else. They appear relaxed in high-pressure moments. They seem flexible, adaptable. People admire their calmness. They seem like the definition of go with the flow, but inside their mind is a very different story. Behind their laid-back exterior, there is a voice that never stops talking, a voice that critiques every decision, every movement, every word they speak, a voice that tells them they should have done better, a voice that questions why they did not predict every outcome, a voice that grows louder the more they pretend to be chill, a voice that treats them with a level of harshness they would never use on anyone else. These people are hidden perfectionists. They do not fit the stereotype. They do not chase straight lines or perfect grades or color-coded planners. They do not brag about their standards. They do not show people how hard they work behind the scenes. Their perfectionism is not about appearing perfect. It is about avoiding shame, avoiding judgment, avoiding the feeling that they are not enough. They hide their effort because they are afraid someone will see how much they care, and caring feels dangerous. You have probably met someone like this. You might even be someone like this. Hidden perfectionists live with a strange duality. They desperately want to do everything right, but they also desperately want to appear effortless. They want to succeed, but they want people to think they are naturally talented. They want to be liked, but they fear that trying too hard will make them look desperate. They want approval, but they pretend not to care about it. They want to be valued, but they do not want people to see the vulnerable truth beneath their calm exterior. Their internal world is a storm disguised as a breeze. It usually begins in childhood, long before anyone notices the pattern. Maybe they grew up in a home where mistakes were treated as personal flaws, where errors were not gently corrected but harshly judged, where they learned that love was conditional and approval had to be earned. They became hyper-aware of how they were perceived. They developed a sharp internal critic to monitor themselves constantly. They learned to stay ahead of disappointment. Or maybe they were the gifted one, the responsible one, the child praised for being easy, mature, well-behaved, competent. They learned early that being impressive brought warmth and validation. They learned that being low maintenance made life smoother for everyone around them. They learned that performing well was the safest way to exist. They learned that mistakes were not allowed to be human, only allowed to be fixed quickly and quietly. They grew up in a world where approval gave them identity, where performance shaped their sense of self. By the time they reached adulthood, the perfectionism became invisible. They worked hard, but made it look easy. They cared deeply, but pretended they were detached. They practiced endlessly, but joked about winging it. They stressed intensely, but smiled through it. They carried a pressure that no one around them noticed. They hid everything under the mask of chill, a chill that was not real, a chill that was crafted, a chill that protected them from the shame of being seen trying. Hidden perfectionists are not driven by ambition. They are driven by fear. Fear of disappointing someone. Fear of being judged. Fear of being exposed. Fear of looking foolish. Fear of not being enough. Their mind constantly scans for flaws, outcomes, expectations. Their self-critic whispers things like, "You should have known better. You should not have said that. You are falling behind. You are embarrassing yourself. You are not good enough." They fight a battle no one sees. People around them admire their calmness, unaware of the internal pressure. People rely on their reliability, unaware of the stress it causes. People compliment their flexibility, unaware that they overthink everything in private. People admire their effortless results, unaware of the hours spent obsessing over every detail. People call them laid back, unaware that their mind never rests. People call them low maintenance, unaware that they carry the weight of everyone's expectations silently. The hidden perfectionist becomes lonely in their own life. They feel misunderstood because no one sees the effort behind their ease. They feel unseen because their struggles are invisible. They feel trapped because their mask works too well. People think they are fine. People think they are confident. People think they are indifferent to pressure. Meanwhile, inside their head, they are drowning in expectations. The mind of a hidden perfectionist is filled with constant noise, a steady hum of self-judgment. They replay conversations, scrutinizing their tone, their word choice, their timing. They analyze interactions like social puzzles. They rehearse responses before speaking. They examine every flaw in their performance. Their mind is a mirror that shows every crack, every mistake, every imperfection magnified. And because they hide their struggle, they never get comfort for it. They never get reassurance. They never get relief. They never get to say, "I am scared of failing. I am terrified of being embarrassed. I criticize myself more than anyone else ever has." They do not let people see the vulnerability beneath the surface. Vulnerability feels shameful. Vulnerability feels like exposure. Vulnerability feels like risk, so they stay calm on the outside and quietly unravel inside. The hidden perfectionist has spent so much time pretending to be easygoing that they have forgotten how to be honest. They downplay their stress because they do not want to appear dramatic. They hide their effort because they do not want to appear desperate. They swallow their emotions because they do not want to appear fragile. They suppress their fears because they do not want to appear weak. They want to be seen as someone who has it together, even when they feel like they are falling apart. But there comes a point when this internal pressure becomes too much. A moment when the mask slips. Maybe it happens during a small mistake that feels catastrophic. Maybe it happens during a moment of conflict that they cannot fix. Maybe it happens during a period where everything feels heavy at once. Maybe it happens in silence, late at night, when their thoughts finally catch up to them. This breaking point is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is the moment they realize they cannot maintain perfection and the appearance of effortlessness at the same time. It is the moment they feel the weight of years spent pretending. It is the moment they understand that the calm persona they created has become a prison. It is the moment they see how deeply they have tied their worth to flawless performance. Something inside them finally says, I cannot keep living like this. And this moment, although painful, is the beginning of transformation. Healing for the hidden perfectionist does not come from working harder or becoming more disciplined. It comes from softening, from allowing space for imperfection, from admitting that caring is not embarrassing, from accepting that effort is not weakness, from understanding that their worth does not depend on flawless outcomes, from seeing themselves as human instead of a performance machine. It begins with speaking honestly, saying things like, I am overwhelmed, I am scared, I tried hard, I care about this, I am not as chill as I pretend to be. These admissions feel terrifying at first, but they open the door to authenticity. They allow the hidden perfectionist to be real, instead of flawless. Learning to say, I did enough. I do not need to earn my worth. Mistakes are part of being human. Trying is brave, not shameful. My effort matters even if the outcome is imperfect. These truths feel foreign at first, because the critic has been in control for so long. But with time, the mind learns a new rhythm, a new tone, a new definition of success. The hidden perfectionist must also learn to let people in, to show the cracks, to admit their fears, to allow themselves to be helped instead of always hiding behind competence. They must learn that being real does not make people love them less, that vulnerability is not humiliation, that showing effort does not make them undeserving. That authenticity builds connection in ways perfection never can. And slowly, as they release the pressure, they discover something unexpected. The world does not collapse when they are imperfect. People do not abandon them when they try and fail. Their identity does not crumble when they show effort. Their worth does not evaporate when they stop pretending. They begin to feel lighter, softer, more present. The internal critic loses its power. The mask becomes unnecessary. They stop performing calmness and start experiencing peace. Genuine peace. The kind that comes not from meeting impossible standards, but from no longer needing to. Here is the truth hidden perfectionists need to hear. You were never chilled. You were scared. You were never detached. You were protecting yourself. You were never effortless. You were exhausted from hiding the effort. You do not need to be perfect to be loved. You do not need to be flawless to be worthy. You do not need to silence your struggles to be respected. You deserve a life where your softness is not a weakness. You deserve relationships where your effort is not something to hide. You deserve to speak without fear of being judged for caring. You deserve to move through life without a critic living inside your head. You deserve to be real. Completely real. Even when you are imperfect. Even when you are messy. Even when you are vulnerable. Even when you try and fail. Perfection is not your purpose. Being human is, and the moment you stop performing and start allowing yourself to exist, the weight begins to lift. The critic grows quieter. The fear fades. The mask falls away. And for the first time, you feel something you have been chasing your entire life. Relief. Because you no longer have to pretend.